The midnight sky above Riverside was clear and full of stars. Dr. Elaine Moore pulled her coat tighter as she stepped out of her car in the hospital parking lot. The night shift at Riverside General Hospital was about to start, and she was already tired. Being head of emergency medicine meant long hours and little sleep, but she loved her job. "Evening, Dr. Moore," said Frank, the security guard at the entrance. "Quiet night so far?" "Let's hope it stays that way," Elaine said with a small smile. She had just settled at her desk with a cup of coffee when her pager buzzed. So much for a quiet night. She hurried to the emergency entrance, where 2 security guards were bringing in a stretcher. "Found her collapsed by the loading dock," one guard explained. "Never seen anything like it." Elaine looked down at the patient and froze. This was not a human woman. The being on the stretcher had skin that shimmered with a violet hue. Her face was almost human-like in structure, but with sharper angles. Her closed eyes were larger than a human's, and when Elaine gently lifted one eyelid, she saw a pupil that reflected light like a cat's. The alien had 4 long fingers on each hand, and her breathing was shallow and rapid. "Get her to room 3, Elaine said, keeping her voice steady despite her racing heart. "And keep this quiet for now." Nurse Betty gasped when she saw the patient but quickly regained her composure. "What's the plan, Doctor?" "We treat her like any other patient in distress," Elaine said. "Let's start with vitals." The alien's body temperature was dangerously high, at 104 degrees. Her pulse was fast, but strong, with a strange double-beat pattern. They placed an oxygen mask over her face, and Elaine ordered intravenous fluids. "She's severely dehydrated," Elaine noted, "and fighting some kind of infection. Maybe from our atmosphere." Dr. Kevin Lee, who had joined them, shook his head in disbelief. "Shouldn't we call someone? The government? NASA?" "We will," Elaine said. "But right now, she's my patient, and she needs medical care. We took an oath to help the sick, and that doesn't specify human." Over the next hour, they drew blood samples that revealed a completely alien, but surprisingly similar biochemistry. The being's cells were more complex than human cells, with extra structures that the lab technician couldn't identify. "Her blood has something like hemoglobin, but it's binding oxygen much more efficiently," the lab tech reported over the phone. "And there are structures in her cells that might be breaking down, like her body is having an allergic reaction to Earth itself." Elaine decided to try a mild anti-inflammatory medication and continued the fluid treatment. To her relief, the alien's temperature began to drop, and her breathing became more regular. It was nearly 3 in the morning when the being's eyes fluttered open. They were a deep amber color with vertical pupils that widened in the dim light of the room. She looked at Elaine, then around the room, before trying to sit up in panic. "It's okay," Elaine said in a calm voice, gently pressing the alien back down. "You're safe. We're helping you." The alien said something in a musical language that Elaine couldn't understand. Her voice was higher pitched than a human's, but clear. "I don't understand," Elaine said slowly, pointing to her ear and shaking her head. The alien seemed to grasp the communication problem. She pointed to herself and made a sound that might have been her name. "Nara?" Elaine tried to repeat it. Alien nodded slightly, then pointed to Elaine with a questioning look. "Elaine," she said, pointing to herself. The alien tried to form the name but couldn't quite manage the L sound. She pointed to the 4 in her arm with a questioning look. "Medicine," Elaine explained, mimicking drinking and then feeling better. "To help you heal." Nara seemed to understand and relaxed a bit. She pointed to the window and then made a sweeping gesture toward the sky. "Yes, you're from up there, aren't you?" Elaine said, "From another world." Their simple communication was interrupted by the arrival of men in dark suits. Agent Paul Harris flashed a government ID and informed Elaine that they were taking over. "This is now a matter of national security," he said firmly. "We need to move the subject to a secure facility." "She is not a subject," Elaine said sharply. "She's a patient. She was in distress, and she's still recovering." "Dr. Moore, I understand your concern, but this is bigger than one hospital. This is first contact with an alien species." Nara watched this exchange with alert eyes, her head turning from one speaker to the other. "If you're moving her, I'm going too," Elaine insisted. "She's still my patient, and she needs medical monitoring." Agent Harris started to object, but his phone rang. After a brief conversation, he sighed. "Fine, you can accompany us to the facility and continue to provide medical care. But this is now classified at the highest level. You'll need to sign some forms." As they prepared to transport Nara, Elaine noticed how the alien woman watched everything with sharp intelligence. There was fear in those strange eyes, but also curiosity. When the transport team arrived with a special sealed gurney, Nara grabbed Elaine's hand. Her skin felt cooler than a human's, with a texture like smooth leather. "It's okay," Elaine assured her. "I'm coming with you." During the ride to the secret government facility, Elaine kept monitoring Nara's vital signs. The alien was stable, but still weak. Occasionally, she would make soft sounds that might have been words in her language. The facility was hidden in the countryside, surrounded by high fences and security cameras. They took Nara to a room that had been quickly converted into a medical suite. As they transferred her to the bed, Elaine noticed a strange device embedded at the base of Nara's skull. It looked like a small metal disc with tiny lights. "What's that?" she asked Agent Harris. "Unknown technology," he replied. "Could be a communication device or a weapon. We'll need to study it carefully." That night, as Elaine stayed by Nara's bedside, the alien's condition improved steadily. Around dawn, Nara sat up and touched the device at the back of her neck. It glowed briefly, and then she spoke. "Thank you for helping me," she said in perfect English, though her voice had a strange electronic quality to it. "I am in your debt." Elaine nearly fell out of her chair in shock. "You can speak our language?" "This neural translator allows me to process and reproduce your speech patterns," Nara explained. "I have been understanding you since I regained consciousness. I simply could not respond until the translator recalibrated. Why are you here?" Elaine asked. "How did you get hurt?" Nara's cat-like eyes looked down. "I came to study your kind. My people, the Viridian Collective, have been observing Earth for many years. My mission was simple observation, but my cloaking technology malfunctioned, exposing me to your atmosphere without proper filtration." She looked at the 4 in her arm, then back at Elaine with confusion and fear. "But something is happening to me now. I can feel changes in my body. What did you do to me?" Agent Harris rushed into the room when he heard Nara speaking. His hand moved to his gun, but Elaine stepped between him and the alien. "She's not threatening us," Elaine said firmly. "She's talking. Your species was meant to be specimens," Nara explained, her strange eyes moving from Elaine to Harris. "The collective needs to understand how you survive conditions that kill other sentient beings." Harris's face hardened. "So you came here to experiment on us?" "Not to harm," Nara said. "Quickly, to observe, to collect biological samples, to learn." She touched her neck where the translator was embedded. "My people have visited many worlds, but humans are unique. You survive diseases and radiation levels that would kill most species. Your bodies adapt to almost any environment." "Is that why you're here alone?" Elaine asked. "For this research?" Nara nodded. "I was to remain hidden, collect samples, and return to my ship. But when my cloaking device failed, I was exposed to your air without filters. The bacteria in your atmosphere overwhelmed my system. More government officials arrived throughout the day. They set up equipment to monitor Nara and took blood samples every few hours. Dr. Samuel Green, a government biologist, joined the team and was fascinated by Nara's physiology. Her cellular structure is unlike anything I've ever seen, he told Elaine as they looked at slides under a microscope. It's almost like her cells can reshape themselves to adapt to new environments. 3 days after arriving at the facility, Nara tried to stand for the first time. Her legs were weak, and she leaned heavily on Elaine. My ship, she said suddenly. I need to contact my people. My distress beacon was damaged when I collapsed. Where is your ship? Harris asked immediately. Hidden in the forest outside your town, Nara said. But I cannot return there yet. I am too weak, and... She stopped, looking troubled. And what? Elaine pressed gently. Something is changing in me, Nara admitted. My skin feels different. My internal organs hurt in new ways. The treatments you gave me saved my life, but they are changing me. Elaine noticed it too. Patches of Nara's violet skin had developed a more human-like tone. Her eyes, while still alien in shape, had lost some of their reflective quality. A team was sent to find Nara's ship. They returned the next day with pictures of a small craft about the size of a car, hidden under branches in the deep woods. It was oval-shaped with no visible windows or doors, made of a material that seemed to change color in different lights. It's sealed shut, the team leader reported. We can't get inside, and we can't move it. It's heavier than it looks. Nara wasn't surprised. It will only open to my biological signature, and only if I am well. It senses my distress and has locked down to protect itself. A week passed. Nara grew stronger, but also more visibly concerned about her changing body. The violet color of her skin was now mixed with patches of pale pink. Her 4-fingered hands seemed to be developing more joints. Blood tests showed her DNA was somehow incorporating elements of human genetic code. How is this possible? Dr. Green wondered as he studied the test results. It's like her cells are taking up human DNA and integrating compatible segments. The collective chose me for this mission because my species has strong adaptive abilities, Nara explained. We can survive on many different worlds by taking on traits of native life forms. But this, she looked at her mottled hands. This is happening too fast, too deeply. One night, when most of the staff had left and only a nurse was on duty in the hallway, Nara confided in Elaine. My people will come looking for me eventually, she said quietly. When they can't reach me through our normal channels, they will. Send others. Is that bad? Elaine asked. Wouldn't you want to be rescued? Nara's expression was hard to read with her changing features, but her voice held worry. They will not understand what has happened to me, and they will still want their specimens. You mean they'll try to take humans? Elaine felt a chill run through her. The collective believes all knowledge is worth obtaining, Nara said. They do not see taking a few of your kind for study as wrong. They would treat you well, but ... But we would be captives, Elaine finished. Lab animals. Nara nodded slowly. I did not question this before. But now, having lived among you, having been helped by you when I was vulnerable ... I see differently. The next morning, Agent Harris called a meeting with the entire research team. New security protocols were being implemented, and everyone was required to carry special ID badges at all times. We have reason to believe there may be more alien activity in the area, he announced. Satellite imaging has detected unusual energy signatures that could indicate another craft in Earth's orbit. Dr. Green was excited by this news. If we could communicate with them, think what we could learn. They're not here to be our teachers. Harris said sharply. According to our guest, they're here to collect humans as specimens. This is a potential threat to national security. All eyes turned to Nara, who sat quietly in a wheelchair, a blanket covering her changing body. I did not think of it as a threat, she said softly, but I understand now how it would seem to you. Later that day, Dr. Green brought Nara a small device he had built. It's just a basic tablet computer, he explained, but I've modified it to interface with your neural translator. Maybe you can use it to show us more about your world, your technology. Nara took the device with wonder in her eyes. Thank you. This is ... kind. That night, when everyone was asleep, Nara used the tablet to access the facility's communication system. With knowledge gained from her neural translator's analysis of Earth technology, she sent a message into space, aimed at specific coordinates. The message was brief. Mission compromised. Physical form adapting to local biology. Humans not simple specimens, complex sentient beings with advanced ethical systems. Request immediate consultation before any collection proceeds. Nara did not know if the message would reach her people, or how they would respond if it did. What she did know was that she was changing, not just in body but in mind. Human emotions were stronger, more chaotic than the regulated feelings of her species. She felt loyalty to the collective, but also growing attachment to Elaine and even some of the other humans. When she finally slept, she dreamed for the first time. Another new human trait her changing brain had adopted. In the dream, she was neither fully alien nor fully human, but something new. And she was afraid. Weeks passed at the government facility. Nara's transformation continued at a steady pace. The patches of human-like skin spread across her body. Her 4 fingers began to look more like a human's 5, though not quite there. Her face remained alien, but the features softened, becoming a strange mix of her original form and human characteristics. Dr. Samuel Green documented every change with scientific precision. It's like watching evolution happen in real time, he told Elaine one morning as they reviewed Nara's latest test results. But how is it possible? Elaine asked. Human DNA and alien DNA shouldn't be compatible. Her species must have evolved specifically to adapt to other life forms, Samuel explained. Maybe that's why they're so interested in us. We're naturally adaptable too, just in different ways. Nara was walking on her own now, getting stronger each day. She spent hours learning about Earth, from books and videos the scientists brought her. She was particularly interested in human music, and would listen to classical pieces with her eyes closed, her body swaying gently. One afternoon, Agent Harris entered the lab with several military officials. Their faces were stern as they watched Nara through the observation window. The higher-ups see an opportunity here, Harris told Elaine and Samuel quietly. If we can understand how her adaptation works, maybe we could apply it to our own people. Imagine soldiers who could breathe on other planets without equipment, or survive extreme conditions. You're talking about experimenting on her, Elaine said, her voice sharp. We're talking about learning from a unique situation, Harris corrected. She's already changing. We just want to understand how. Inside the observation room, Nara looked up from her book, as if she could sense they were talking about her. Her hearing had become more sensitive as her body changed. That night, Elaine found Nara sitting alone in her room. The alien woman was looking at her reflection in a small mirror, touching the areas where her skin had changed color. Does it hurt? Elaine asked gently. Not pain exactly, Nara replied. More like ... pressure, like something is pushing from inside. She put the mirror down. But the mental changes are more disturbing. What do you mean? My emotions, Nara said. They're so ... loud now. In my species, feelings are subtle things, like soft music in another room, but human emotions. She pressed a hand to her chest. They're like storms. Happiness is so bright, it almost hurts. Sadness feels like drowning. As if to demonstrate, tears suddenly welled in Nara's eyes and spilled down her cheeks. She touched them in wonder. "This is new," she whispered. "We don't have this." "Crying," Elaine explained. "It happens when emotions get too big to hold inside." "How do you bear it?" Nara asked. "These feelings are so strong." "We share them," Elaine said simply. "We talk, we cry together, we hug." She hesitated, then opened her arms. Nara looked confused for a moment, and understood. She leaned forward awkwardly into Elaine's embrace. At first, she was stiff, but then she relaxed, her arms coming up to return the hug. "It helps," she said with surprise when they pulled apart. The sharing. The next day, Samuel asked Nara if she would agree to a new series of tests. "We want to understand your adaptation process better," he explained. "It could help us prepare if more of your kind come to Earth." Nara agreed, but Elaine noticed her watching the scientists with new wariness. That evening, Nara used the tablet Samuel had given her to access more information about human biology. She was particularly interested in the brain and nervous system. "Your species feels so much because your nervous systems are different from mine," she told Elaine the next morning. "My people have dampeners in our brains that control emotional responses. As my brain changes to be more like yours, those dampeners are failing." "Is that why the collective wants to study us?" Elaine asked. "Because of our emotional capacity?" "Partly," Nara admitted, "but mostly because of your physical resilience. Your bodies fight off infections that would kill most species. You adapt to different environments, different foods. You survive radiation levels that should be deadly. We've had to evolve that way to survive on Earth," Elaine said. Nara nodded. "Earth is harsh compared to many worlds. Perhaps that's why I'm changing so dramatically. My body sees your adaptations as necessary for survival here." A month into Nara's stay, something unexpected happened. She was in the middle of a routine scan when she suddenly cried out and grabbed her head. Her body began to shake, and she collapsed to the floor. "She's having a seizure." Elaine shouted, rushing to her side. The medical team worked quickly to stabilize her. When Nara regained consciousness hours later, she seemed disoriented. "I heard them," she whispered to Elaine. "My people, they received my message. They're coming." Elaine immediately reported this to Agent Harris, who called an emergency meeting with military officials. The facility became a flurry of activity as new security measures were put in place. "When will they arrive?" Harris demanded when he came to question Nara. "Soon," she said. "Days, not weeks. They're concerned about my transformation. And ... She hesitated. "And what?" Harris pressed. "They still intend to collect specimens," Nara said quietly. "They believe it's necessary for their research." "How? Many ships? How many of their people?" Harris fired questions at her. "One ship. 3 or 4 scientists and a pilot," Nara replied. "They're not warriors. They're researchers like me." "But they want to kidnap humans," Harris reminded her. "That makes them a threat." For the first time, anger flashed across Nara's face, a very human expression. "They don't see it as kidnapping. They see it as collecting samples, like you might collect plant specimens or capture animals for a zoo. They don't understand yet that it's wrong." "And do you?" Elaine asked softly. "Do you understand now that it's wrong?" Nara was quiet for a long moment. "Yes," she finally said. "I do. These changes in me. They've helped me see your species differently. You're not just interesting biology. You're people with lives and feelings as complex as my own." She looked at her hands, now almost human-looking, except for the slight webbing between the fingers. Maybe that's why this is happening to me. So I can understand. That night, Nara had another seizure, worse than the first. Her body temperature spiked dangerously high, and her heartbeat became erratic. The medical team worked for hours to stabilize her. When she finally woke, something had changed again. The last patches of violet skin had faded to a pale human tone, with just a slight lavender undertone. Her eyes, while still larger than a human's, had lost their reflective quality and were now a deep amber color with round pupils instead of slits. "I can feel my ship," she told Elaine weakly. "It's responding to my changes, adapting its systems like I've adapted my body. Can you use it to contact your people? To tell them not to take any humans?" Elaine asked urgently. "I've tried," Nara said, "but they believe I've been compromised. That my judgment is no longer reliable because I'm becoming too human." A tear slid down her cheek. "And maybe they're right. I don't think like them anymore. I feel too much now." 3 days after Nara's second seizure, satellite images detected an object entering Earth's atmosphere. It slowed as it descended, clearly under control rather than falling. The military tracked it to a landing site just 50 miles from the Yao facility. "They're here," Agent Harris announced grimly to the assembled team. "We've set up a secure perimeter around their landing site, but they're using some kind of cloaking technology. Our infrared sensors can barely detect them." Nara sat in a wheelchair, still weak from her latest transformation. Her appearance now was like a human with subtle alien features, slightly larger eyes, a faint purple tint to her skin and fingers that were just a bit too long. If she walked down a street, people might stare, but they wouldn't immediately think alien. "They'll be looking for me," she said, "and for human subjects to take back with them. How will they find you?" Elaine asked. The neural translator. Nara touched the back of her neck, where the small device was embedded. "It sends out a signal they can track. It's how our teams locate each other on research missions." Harris frowned. "Can we block the signal?" "Not without removing it," Nara said. "And it's connected to my nervous system. Removing it could kill me, especially now that my biology has changed so much." Samuel spoke up from where he'd been quietly listening. "What if we use the signal as bait? Set a trap?" "No," Nara and Elaine said at the same time. "My people aren't evil," Nara explained. "They just don't understand. If they feel threatened, they might use weapons we can't defend against." "Then what do you suggest?" Harris demanded. "Let me talk to them," Nara said simply. "Let me show them what's happened to me. Explain what I've learned about humans." "Absolutely not," Harris shook his head. "Too risky." That night, Elaine found Nara sitting by the window of her room, looking up at the stars. The alien woman seemed lost in thought, her now human eyes reflecting the moonlight. "Are you okay?" Elaine asked. "I keep thinking about my home," Nara said softly. "About the collective. We pride ourselves on being logical, ethical researchers. We believe all knowledge is worth pursuing, but not at the cost of unnecessary suffering." She turned to Elaine. "What they plan to do goes against their own principles. They just don't see it because they don't truly understand your kind. Can you make them understand?" "Maybe." Nara's voice was uncertain. "If they would listen. But they think I've been compromised by the changes in my body. They won't trust my judgment." Elaine sat down beside her. "Then we need to help them see for themselves." The next morning, Elaine proposed a risky plan to Agent Harris. "Let Nara contact her people. Invite them to meet us at the hospital where she was first brought in. Neutral ground, away from this military facility." "That's insane," Harris said flatly. "We'd be putting civilians at risk." "Not if we evacuate the hospital first," Elaine argued. "Make up a story about a gas leak or something. The point is, If her people see her in a place of healing, see how we tried to help her even when we didn't know what she was, it might change how they view us." Harris was still reluctant, but after consulting with his superiors, he agreed to a modified version of the plan. The east wing of Riverside General Hospital would be evacuated and secured. A small team, including Elaine, Samuel, Harris, and 4 armed agents, would accompany Nara to meet the aliens. "But at the first sign of trouble," Harris warned, "we go." "To Plan B, which is?" Elaine asked. Harris didn't answer, but the grim look on his face said enough. They moved Nara back to the hospital the next day. She was stronger now, able to walk short distances on her own. As they set up equipment in the empty emergency room, Nara used a tablet Samuel had given her to send a message to her people. "They've responded," she said after a few minutes. "They'll come tonight, after dark. 3 scientists and their pilot." She looked troubled. "They say they've prepared containment units for the human specimens." "Containment units?" Samuel asked. "Like transport pods," Nara explained reluctantly. "They keep the subject in suspended animation during space travel." "You mean like coffins," Harris said bluntly. Nara winced at his words. "They don't intend cruelty. They just don't understand." As night fell, the small team waited tensely in the emergency room. Nara sat on an examination table, her hands folded in her lap. Elaine stood beside her, while Harris and his agents positioned themselves around the room, weapons hidden but ready. At exactly midnight, the lights in the room flickered. A soft humming sound filled the air, and 3 figures appeared near the door. They seemed to step out of nowhere, their cloaking technology making them invisible one moment and present the next. The aliens looked much like Nara had when she first arrived, tall, with violet skin, large reflective eyes, and 4-fingered hands. They wore close-fitting suits made of a material that seemed to shift color slightly as they moved. They carried no visible weapons, but each had devices attached to their wrists and belts. The tallest alien stepped forward, eyes fixed on Nara. It spoke in the musical language Elaine had heard Nara use when she first woke up. Nara responded in the same language, then switched to English. "I will speak their language so you can understand," she explained to the humans. "This is lead researcher Krell. He was my supervisor on this mission." Krell studied Nara with obvious shock. "Your transformation is more extensive than we anticipated," he said, his words translated by a device on his wrist. "Your biochemistry has been fundamentally altered." "Yes," Nara agreed, "but my mind is still my own, even if it works differently now." "We have come to retrieve you," Krell stated, "and to complete your mission by collecting representative specimens of the human species for study." Harris tensed, and Elaine saw his hand move toward his concealed weapon. "That won't be necessary," Nara said firmly. "I've learned enough about humans to know that taking them against their will violates our ethical principles." Krell tilted his head. "They are a primitive species. Their consent is not required for basic biological research. Look around you," Nara gestured to the hospital room. "This is a place of healing. When they found me, they didn't know what I was, but they tried to save my life. They treated me as a person, not a specimen." Another alien stepped forward, one slightly smaller than Krell. "Your judgment has been compromised by the biological contamination," it said dismissively. "The human DNA has affected your brain chemistry, making you sympathize with them unnaturally." "Perhaps," Nara admitted. "Or perhaps it has given me insight you lack. I have lived among them. I have felt what they feel." She stood up, wavering slightly. "I won't let you take them." Krell made a sharp gesture, and the 3rd alien moved forward, raising a small device that looked like a silver wand. "We will complete the mission with or without your cooperation, Nara. Your condition requires immediate treatment." Elaine stepped between Nara and the advancing alien. She's not your property. She's a person making her own choice. The alien stopped, seemingly puzzled by this human's intervention. In that moment of hesitation, Nara reached out and grabbed the tablet from the nearby table. With quick movements, she typed a command and then spoke urgently in her native language. The three aliens suddenly looked up, as if hearing something the humans couldn't detect. Their faces showed alarm. "What did you do?" Krell demanded. "I sent a command to my ship," Nara said, her voice steady despite her obvious exhaustion. "I've activated its self-destruct sequence. If you try to take any humans, I'll let it blow up. The explosion will alert every human government to your presence." It was a bluff, but the aliens couldn't know that. Nara had told Elaine earlier that her ship was too damaged to fly, but its communication systems and other functions still worked. Krell stared at Nara, his alien features hard to read. "You would betray the collective for these beings?" "I'm not betraying our principles," Nara replied. "I'm upholding them. We don't cause unnecessary suffering. Taking humans would cause suffering." She stepped forward, still wobbly but determined. "Let me show you what I've learned." Nara stepped toward her people with one hand extended. "Let me share what I've experienced," she said. The aliens looked at each other uncertainly. In their culture, direct mental sharing was reserved for the most important scientific discoveries. It was intimate and rarely done outside research circles. "Your mind has been altered," Krell said, but his tone was less certain now. "The data may be corrupted." "Then see for yourself what corruption looks like," Nara challenged. She touched her neural translator at the base of her skull. "Connect with me. See what I've seen. Feel what I've felt." After a moment of hesitation, Krell approached her. He raised a hand with a small device that glowed softly as he brought it near Nara's neural translator. The two devices linked with a soft chime, and both Nara and Krell went very still, their eyes unfocused. Elaine, Samuel, and Agent Harris watched tensely as the silent exchange continued. The other two aliens shifted nervously, but made no move. To interfere, minutes passed. Then Krell stumbled backward, breaking the connection. His large eyes were wide, and his breathing was rapid. "So much feeling," he said, his voice shaking. "How do they bear it?" "They share it," Nara said simply, repeating what Elaine had told her. "They help each other carry the weight of their emotions." Krell turned to look at the humans with new eyes. "I felt your fear when you found her," he said directly to Elaine. "But you helped her anyway. Why?" "Because she needed help," Elaine said. "That's what humans do. At our best, we care for others, even strangers, even those who are different from us." The smaller alien stepped forward. "Krell, we should return to the ship. This situation has become too complex." "Wait," Samuel interrupted. "You came here to learn about us. Why not do that properly? With cooperation instead of abduction?" "Cooperation?" The third alien asked, speaking for the first time. "You would willingly share your biological data?" "We already do that among ourselves." Samuel explained. "We have entire fields of study dedicated to understanding our own biology. We call it medicine, genetics, biology. I'm a scientist, too. We could exchange knowledge." While they talked, Nara swayed on her feet. The mental link with Krell had drained her limited energy. Elaine moved quickly to support her, helping her back to sit on the examination table. This simple act of care did not go unnoticed by the aliens. "The connection between you is genuine," Krell observed, "not just researcher and subject." "We're friends," Elaine said firmly. "Nara is a person to us, not a specimen." Krell seemed to consider this deeply. He turned to his companions and spoke rapidly in their musical language. There was a heated exchange, with the smaller alien gesturing emphatically. Finally, Krell turned. Back to the humans. We will not take specimens today, he announced. Experiences have raised questions we must consider carefully. Our mission parameters may need revision. Agent Harris stepped forward. And in the meantime, what guarantees do we have that you won't return with more of your kind? I will stay, the third alien said unexpectedly. To observe properly, with permission. To learn about humans as beings, not just biological entities. This clearly surprised Krell, but after a moment, he nodded. Researcher Tella has volunteered to continue the mission in a modified form. A cultural exchange rather than specimen collection. Under our supervision? Harris insisted. Agreed, Krell said. And Nara ... What of you? All eyes turned to Nara, who sat with her hands folded in her lap, looking both alien and human at the same time. I cannot return to the collective in this form, she said quietly. My body has changed too much. I would not survive the reversal process. Then you will stay among the humans? Krell asked. Nara looked at Elaine, then at Samuel, and even Agent Harris. If they will have me. I am neither fully Viridian nor fully human now, but perhaps I can be a bridge between our worlds. Elaine squeezed her hand. Of course we'll have you. The smaller alien made a sound of protest, but Krell silenced it with a gesture. It will be recorded that researcher Nara was lost during the mission, he said formally. Her ship will be recovered, and her belongings returned to her family cluster. Thank you, Nara said softly. Krel touched a device on his wrist, and a small cylinder materialized in his hand. He offered it to Nara. Your personal data core, your memories of home. Nara took it with trembling fingers. Will you tell them? I found something wonderful here, something worth changing for? I will, Krell promised. The aliens prepared to leave, but before they activated their cloaking technology, Krell turned to Elaine. You changed her, he said, not accusingly, but with genuine curiosity. When she asked, what did you do to me? What was your answer? Elaine thought for a moment. I didn't do anything to her. I just treated her as a person, with dignity and care. Her body adapted to survive here, but perhaps her heart adapted to belong here. Krell seemed to ponder this. Fascinating. Perhaps that is the true data we should be collecting. With that, he and the smaller alien vanished, leaving only Tella behind. In the days that followed, the government created a new identity for Nara. She became Nora Allen, a medical researcher with a rare skin condition that gave her complexion a subtle lavender hue. Tila was introduced as her cousin, visiting from abroad. The facility where Nara had been studied was converted into a special research center, focusing on peaceful exchange of medical and scientific knowledge. Samuel headed the human team, while Nara and Tila represented the Viridian perspective. 6 months after the meeting at the hospital, Nara and Elaine sat on the roof of Elaine's apartment building, watching the stars. Do you miss it? Elaine asked. Your home? Sometimes, Nara admitted, but I've found a new home here. She looked down at her hands, now almost completely human in appearance, except for the slight elongation of the fingers. I'm still changing. You know, more slowly, but the process continues. Are you still afraid of the changes? Nara shook her head. Not anymore. Now I'm curious to see who I'll become. She smiled, a very human expression she had mastered over the months. The collective sees adaptation as a scientific process, a means of survival. But humans ... you see it as growth, as becoming more than you were before. Is that what happened to you? Elaine asked. You became more? Different, certainly, Nara said thoughtfully. I feel more now. I dream, I hope, I even cry at sad movies. She laughed softly at herself. But mostly, I learned that true adaptation isn't just about changing your body to survive. It's about opening your mind to new ways of seeing. She looked up at the stars again, knowing her people were out there, watching, learning. Thanks to her experience and Tyla's ongoing observations, the collective had revised their approach to Earth. Instead of seeing humans as mere specimens, they now recognized them as potential partners in the vast exploration of knowledge. So when you ask, "What did you do to me?" Elaine said, "The answer is, you showed me what it means to be human," Nara finished. "Not just biologically, but here." She placed a hand over her heart. And that was the most valuable adaptation of all. Above them, a shooting star streaked across the sky, perhaps a natural meteor, or perhaps a Viridian ship, briefly visible as it entered Earth's atmosphere on a peaceful mission of discovery. Either way, it seemed like a promise of new beginnings and bridges yet to be built between worlds once separate, now forever connected.